Hello and welcome to Unshackled with Tash. I hope you have all had an amazing week and, as always, enjoyed last week's podcast. I hope that you have got a lot of information. People that have just started following, I hope that you're enjoying the journey and understanding about our blueprint and our core needs and all my other fun topics I love to talk about. I've had some amazing guests, as you've all seen of late, and today I've got myself a special guest. Both Genevieve and I have decided that we're doing a collaboration. We're just doing a chat today. So we come from very similar backgrounds, and Genevieve is from Amsterdam, and obviously I'm from Australia. So we've been collaborating for the last few weeks, and we decided that today was a day where we were going to share each other's stories and just do a Q&A and more of a information for you guys. So please, guys, welcome to Genevieve Pool, all the way from Amsterdam, and welcome her to Unshackled.
All right, Tash, it's so cool being here together, and that this is going to be both on both our ends, basically. And I'm just gonna start with our icebreaker question. So let's just head right into it. Let's just deep dive immediately. And I'm wondering, what's one thing that brings you childlike joy and why?
Well, firstly, I love that we've finally got this happening. Two different ends of the world. You're morning and I'm afternoon. So look at us go.
Crazy, right?
We're doing great. You're in Amsterdam and I'm in Australia. Go figure. So what makes childlike for joy for me would be, there's two things. Music that takes me back to a childhood memory that was great and a lot of fun. But the big thing that gets me childlike joy is hanging out with my grandchildren. They are just so present and so fun. You cannot be anywhere but with them. And so you go to their level and you have so much fun with them, and you belly laugh and you dance and you do silly things that you don't do any other day. For that brings me my childlike joy. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the easy things like drawing and cooking and not following any rules or a recipe. Just indeed being there in the moment. And I must say, children definitely help with that. But yeah, like doing something creative where my brain just gets to brain fart all over the place, where I get some space. We need space.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for your creativity, right?
Yeah, yeah. And with your grandchildren, you told me, like, okay, they put me in the moment. And how does that feel for you?
Beautiful. It's easy. It's free. There's nothing else. Like at the very beginning, I promised myself I would be more present with them because I wasn't with my kids. And yes, some days I do forget that, and I get very quickly reminded, Nanny, put your phone down. So as soon as I go to their house now, the phone's put away and I'm just there. I'm just present. It's fun. It's easy. It's like so much laughter and joy. And you actually hear what they say. You actually connect with them because you're so present, and you can go any avenue that they want to go with their imagination and their creativity, right? Because you're with them. It's not like you go, oh, what did you say? It's like, I'm here. Okay, let's go down this path. Let's veer down whatever path it is that you want to go. I just love it. It's just so innocent.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, I love that. And also, I think it's such a joy to have grandchildren, because then you get the chance to go in towards your inner child yourself again as well, right?
100%. 100%. And you actually start to remember how much you don't do it. You start to go, wow, you make life so serious, and you make life so like challenging when we don't need to. And when you go back to that sense of a child, you just realize how much you actually put on yourself that you don't need to. It's like you with your cooking and your creativity. Like, how does that make you feel at the time, at that present time?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, it really feels freeing. It's like, oh, I have these ingredients and I don't really know what to do. I know the basics of chemistry and cooking, and let's just go for it. And sometimes it tastes like shit. Sometimes it tastes amazing. And I'm like, you know what? I tried. It's
Yeah.
just, you're just putting on some music, you're dancing around and you're trying a new recipe. And it really brings me toward my inner joy a bit more instead of like all the soldier like commands that you give yourself all day. And I think you and I in particular, we're very good at doing that because of both of our upbringings, because
It's
those
just
were
about to
both
go there. Yeah.
pretty harsh.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it's good for us to give ourselves that permission to go there again, to go back to our inner joy.
Mm.
So we learn to let go a little bit.
Yeah. And you're so right. Obviously, we have very similar upbringings, which is what connected us in the first place, right? And I
Yeah.
think there is that little part of me, and I won't lie, that I get sad that I miss. And there's a lot of my childhood I do not remember, a lot. And when I see how happy my granddaughters are, there is a little part of me, it's not all of me, but there is a little part of me that gets sad and thinks, I missed out on this. I don't remember this. Those girls are going to remember that love, that connection, that joy. Like I didn't have that. So then there's that other side to me that says, but that's okay. You can now have that with these girls here, right? Rather than down the woe is me and, I had a shit life. Yeah, I had a horrendous childhood. But I don't look at that as a bad thing now. I look at it as it's happened for me to be where I am today, to help as many people as I can, which is obviously a very similar path to you. We both grew up with narcissistic fathers. And how did that shape you, Jen?
Well, for me, what you just said about the part where you forgot a lot of your childhood, I also have that because it's kind of how your brain tries to protect you, right? It's like, okay, you don't have to uncover everything. You can just forget about this because otherwise you'll basically go nuts, which is very understandable. So everything is basically put in a box of Pandora. There's a huge box of Pandora in my brain, at least. And yeah, for me, I'm starting to uncover all of it. Now I'm in my 30s, and the past 10 years, I've done a lot of hard work. And now all these memories are kind of uncovering themselves one by one. And I'm slowly starting to remember, like, oh, this happened to me. And oh, this happened to me. And oh my God, this happened to me too. But just like you said, things didn't per se happen to me. They happened for me, and they shaped and pave the way in my life where I get to help people who kind of went through the same or something different, but also left its marks in their lives. And we now get to improve as a community all together. We get to go for better lives because we're actively choosing for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't wish for anything else. It sounds weird, maybe.
I'm hearing you.
So
you at the time and pre-doing all this work, there was a lot of anger in me. There was a lot of resentment. And, I'm a few decades older than you. So I had over 5 decades worth of trauma to unpack and heal. And it wasn't probably until really the last 2-3 years I really released a lot. Like I'd released a lot over the 8-9 years, but this was a whole different level thanks to plant medicine and some other deep modalities. But what it did for me was it actually gave me the ability to have the compassion for my mum and dad, especially my dad, because he only knew what to do. Sorry, he only did what he knew what to do because of what happened to him. And it's not an excuse. And I don't condone abuse, and I don't condone sexual assault and any type of abuse. But when you do this work and you understand how that blueprint was formed, you'd be crazy to sit in that mess for the rest of your life blaming that person, because 1, we can't change it. 2, depending on what your belief system is, I'm a big believer in we have soul contracts and we choose our parents, we choose our experiences, we choose our partners, all for the lessons, right? I chose my mum and dad for the lessons of I needed to learn self-love, self-worth, not to abandon myself, respect myself, but it took me 2 big traumas for that to happen. What about?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I chose them or not, but I don't fully blame my parents for what happened to me. I'm like, okay, you guys tried to do what you knew with, the resources that you had back at that time. And the fact that my dad, he has huge narcissistic tendencies, or he is a narcissist. Well, according to my therapist, he is one, as far as I've been able to describe him. But you can't just put a stamp on someone else as long as they're not willing to get any help. But they kind of tried, I would say. But on the other hand, I know that this lesson was probably necessary for me to get where I'm at right now. And my therapist also told me, well, Jen, I'm so happy that for the past years you've done this work, because actually you're very early on in the process. A lot of people uncover this in their 40s or in their 50s. So it's a blessing that you're already seeing what you're seeing right now. You could have been in a standard job, you could have been living a standard life, and you could have gone through a huge midlife crisis, but you basically avert it from that because you saw on time in your 20s that something was not okay, something was not normal in your situation. But it did result in relationships before I went through all that with a huge narcissistic person as well, because you kind
Which
of
is
have
the
to.
catalyst. Yeah.
Exactly. You kind of have to repeat the whole process in order to get to that realization. And of course, I would have wanted to avoid that for myself. But if I wouldn't have gone through that, I would have gone through the, oh, normal life, normal wife kind of thing, and gone nuts in my 40s, basically. That there was a huge chance of that happening.
So your turning point was your narcissistic partner.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, no, sure. I'm very open about it, actually. So, in my 20s, when I went back to university, I was a late bloomer because I worked full time starting 14, 15, something like that. Because my parents, they basically didn't have any resources for me. So, I had to do my own stuff, which was fine. I learned how to work hard and how to power through life. So, in my 20s, I went back to university. And I found this woman, and I thought, oh my God, she's cute and whatever. And after 2 or 3 months, her mask completely dropped, and she was heavily abusive. So physically, sexually, she was a huge stalker. And at some point I told her, well, this is not going to work for me. Obviously, I don't want to be in this. Please let me go. And well, I was like a year into the stalking thing while she was in it, and I was just observing it from the outside. And she basically said, if no one else can have, if I can't have you, no one else can have you.
Yeah.
And I have to murder you. So she tried to murder me. So she was basically standing in front of my house with knives and hammers, and I had to flee along the balcony and climb over it. I was on the 6th floor. It was terrifying.
Oh,
But on
wow.
the other hand, that whole year was definitely a catalyst for my life to see, oh, I basically repeated a pattern, because this is what my dad did to my mom, but then in a lighter degree and for 20 something years.
So there's
And yeah, and I was like, well, I do not want this. This is not necessary in my life. This has no use. And that was really the catalyst for me to start working on myself and go through a lot of therapy and a lot of talking and a lot of cutting off people who really wronged me, like my own father, for example. I was like, you know what? I don't need you in my life. I mean, I need you, but I can also fill that role with a lot of other people who have father-like love and who want the best for me. So I'll do that. And for you, you also went into a relationship that wasn't great either.
Mine started with the accident in the ambulance. That was where my trauma first started, because that was an attempted murder. And 3 years after the accident, I met who I thought was a lovely person. But I do believe, it's my belief system, that he was put in front of me to break me, completely break me out of the identity that I had for 50 years. And he was also a very dark, coercive narcissist. And he was violent, he was aggressive. sexual assault, manipulation, and it was all in COVID, so I couldn't get away. And it also then involved my younger son, and his exposure to him had detrimental effect. And I could see it because I had already done some work after the accident, and I could see that this was unhealthy. And again, like you, I attracted my father. Now, I had attracted other narcissistic men, but this was like the icing on the cake. And this man was dangerous. And I remember my big sister saying, "You're dating Dad." And I was like, oh, no. And I knew how bad Dad was. And anyway, I did and most people that have been in a narcissistic relationship, I tried to fight it. I tried to, reason with him, get him help. You can't help a narcissist because they do not see that what they are doing is a problem, because they are so extremely insecure and wounded that they cannot be any other persona than what they are. So they will not. And most narcissistic people that have gone through therapy will say, I think it's something like 95% won't pass the test. So with him, it became the abuse became worse. And I now see it as the biggest red flag. Within 3 months, he wanted to marry me. And I was like, oh no, this is possession. And it was becoming possessive. And as you know, you go from a pedestal and you start being devalued, and then you start being manipulated, gaslit, all of those things, right?
Yep.
And that was happening. And in the end, I ended it, but he was so good at making me believe it was my fault that I begged him to come back. So then he came back, and then he punished me. And that's when the darkness really, really hit. And then it ended very ugly, very, very ugly. And it was about a week after that I had my dark night of the soul, my awakening. And after about 2 or 3 weeks of going through that, I just was a different person. It was like he birthed me into that next layer of my healing. And they say that an empath, which is what you and I are, empaths have to meet a dark narcissist to break through into that next, like the caterpillar and the butterfly. And I truly believe that, well, I don't believe, I know that that's what happened for me. And from that day on, my life completely changed. And I went on this journey then of healing every wound that I ever had.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, and you're right. They do say that we need to meet someone like that in order for our powers to be really awakened and to actually be able to choose for ourselves, because that's basically it. Because when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but choosing for myself and protecting myself, it was non-existent, because I continuously had to monitor the situation at home. I continuously had to monitor whether my dad wasn't getting aggressive again or getting sexually abusive again. Yet you have to monitor all of that. And that's also
recognition.
Yeah. So you kind of have to go through that in order to be able to let go of that, because I know that you and I were both highly sensitive still, and we're still empaths, but I also know that now we're better at choosing for ourselves and better at closing ourselves off at times that we need it, at times that we need to take a break from all the other people's stuff for some reason or another. And before, I just ate up everyone's energy.
Well, now I consider myself, after all these years, I now believe I'm a dark empath, which means I have the discernment, and I don't buy into the manipulation, and I don't buy into the control, and I have very, very solid boundaries, and I can cut people off very quickly. Whereas I was never capable of doing that before. I would always be, as we know, growing up the way we did, we were looking for love in all the wrong places. We were searching to be, validated and loved, and I would go to the neighbors because they were nice to me, right? And what we do as you are growing and learn and evolving, you start to recognize those patterns your whole life that took you into adulthood, and marriages, and in my case, children. And those, I believe, I was I have now had to go through this to be a cycle breaker.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And, like we went through all this dark stuff. It had its reasons, but we also went through it in one way or another. And I think the person who's listening to this right now, they just really need to hear it. And they probably also need to share it with one or two people who they know of that they're going through the same thing as well, or they went through it and they still have some difficulties. But could you enlighten us a little bit more about your healing journey? How did that go for you?
Yeah, so originally it was talk therapy, and talk therapy just kept me stuck in my nervous state. My nervous system was stuck in the state of survival, because what people don't understand is you can talk and you can logically know that you're safe now, but your nervous system doesn't know, because all of that is stored in your body, your tissues, your fascia, your muscles, your heart, you're everywhere. Your trauma and your stories and everything that's happened to you is stored within your body. So after the talk therapy didn't work, I was fortunate enough to have a sister who was very holistic, and she started doing a lot of energy work on me, and then she started doing inner child release work and things like that. Then over the years, I got Reiki. I went to other retreats where they would do breath work, just lots of stuff or somatic work to help it out of my body. But the thing that saved me, and people like this or they don't, was plant medicine, because plant medicine takes you to your deepest, deepest, deepest wounds. And I was ready for that process. Was it fun? Not a chance. Not a chance. But it was a game changer for me. But leading up to it, the breath work helped, the energy healing work, the Reiki helped, the inner child work, all of that worked. But this was next level. And you can talk till the cows come home, Jen, but it does not release it from your body. Yeah. So if anybody was starting to go through this, I would say, sure, find someone safe to talk to, but understand you need somebody to help you release it from your nervous system. Your nervous system needs healing. And without that, you're just going to, no matter what you talk about, if you go into a similar situation or you meet somebody that's going to trigger you, your nervous system is going to put you straight back into where you were when the first thing happened, until that wound and that wound's healed and that energy is released from your body.
Yeah.
What about you?
I recognize a lot of your journey in mine, because I also started with a lot of talk therapy. So right after everything happened, I think in the next month or so, after resting for a little bit, as far as I could rest, because everything happened at like 1:30 at night. So I was basically awake during the night and sleeping during the day, because I didn't dare to wake up, because I was scared that someone was going to break into my house again with knives and hammers, obviously. But after a month or so, I started EMDR and talk therapy. And the EMDR, that basically didn't do anything for me. And I've heard that's the case sometimes, where EMDR it doesn't work, which is fine. But I've tried that, and I went into talk therapy, and then I slowly kind of upgraded my path into yoga, breath work, all that stuff, because COVID came not too far after. So we had to stay at home, and I was at home with my current partner, who actually also taught me a big deal. Well, not my ex-girlfriend, by the way, sorry. And she also taught me a big deal that humans can be safe. They don't have to be abusive per se. So she also taught me a lot of that stuff, but still there were a lot of wounds in that relationship, and that's also one of the reasons why it didn't work out, obviously, because I still had all this work to do on myself. So during COVID, I really started doing a lot of yoga at home, because the gyms were closed and I couldn't go to a practitioner's office and everything. And I really started to center myself a little bit more. And then I went for a more holistic way afterwards. And now my current therapist, he has all his diplomas to be a therapist, but he's also a very holistic healer, and he's an energy worker as well.
Yes.
So I went from normal therapist office to, okay, what guy can I pay myself, or gal, I don't care who it is, who can go a layer deeper. And now I also do microdosing. So I don't have any medication anymore. I used to be
So cool.
on antidepressants, but I gained a lot of weight back then. I gained like 20 kilograms. Um, so I had to cut that off, and I was like, you know what? Let's just try microdosing, something natural. So now I'm microdosing, and I have a very holistic approach therapist. And I also have a friend of mine, and she does a lot of energy work on me, and she does massages as well. So we're helping each other out, which is amazing. Then we're also keeping it in our local economy, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen quite a few doctors through the past 10
Yeah.
years.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, now I've found a rhythm that works for me, and I found the medication that works for me. And I also found out that, a relationship doesn't work for me in a certain way because I just wasn't there yet, which is fine.
Or you were living in survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
So
living in survival. You can't have a healthy relationship until you do the work. And I'm not saying you can't be in a relationship, but you need to be with somebody, one, that's either safe or is on the journey with you, and you heal and grow together, right? And you'll know with your antidepressants, and I was on antidepressants after my accident, they're great for the time that you need them, but when you become too reliant on them, they just mask what's really in there, because you're not depressed, and you're traumatized. Your soul is saying, hey, let's clean this up. But the doctors, the Western world, is just push for medication, right?
Yeah.
And I was the same as you. I took myself off the medication, and my doctor was amazing. He was so beautiful. And because I was a paramedic, he trusted what I was doing, but I sort of did things that he wasn't aware of when I was weaning myself. But I got through it, and I felt so much clearer when I was off the medication, and then I could start to actually feel what was coming up, rather than take another tablet, go to bed, have another sleeping tablet, sleep for 10 to 12 hours. That doesn't help the process. It just keeps you in it, right? And the one thing I did forget to mention that I do is I meditate every day, all day. I do, sound healings. I'm not so much into yoga because of some injuries, but I was doing yoga for a bit. But I'll go and take myself for floats, and I'll take myself to like recovery rooms where you have a sauna and spa baths, and you do all that therapy for yourself to help release lymphatic work, liver cleansing, all of those things. There's so many avenues and modalities you can use that will guide you and take, and it's not, it's not one size fits all. Some things will work for others, like exposure therapy worked for me. Like, I had the most amazing psychologist and psychiatrist looking after me after my accident. And for somebody who had been in the ambulance for 30 years and that job was my life, I could not put on a uniform. I couldn't go near an ambulance. I would cry if I saw one. I would sweat if you put me near my uniform. They made me carry my uniform around in a bag for 2 weeks. And I had to take it with me to breakfast, lunch, dinner, shops. I was living in the facility at that stage. Take it to dinner, had to take it everywhere. And it made me sick, but it made my nervous system start to go, okay, nothing's happening. I'm okay. So you have to do things repetitive and consistently to get your nervous system to understand it's safe, right? And this is the problem. And you and I had this conversation the other week. What people don't realize, when you meet up with someone and you become, partners, marriage, whatever, no matter what gender, you are coming together as two nervous systems, not two people, because neither of us know what's gone on in that person's past or what's happened to them. We don't know their triggers. We don't know what their history is. We don't know what their blueprint is. We don't know what their love language is. We don't know any of this because no one has those conversations. But we have high expectations of that person knowing, well, you should know that. You should know that upsets me. How would I know that, right? To you, it'd be nothing. But to someone else, it's a trigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those are indeed the conversations that we have to crack open with potential partners, but even just with friends and family, we just
Absolutely.
we have to crack them open and say, hey, X, Y, and Z triggers me for reason ABC. I still have to work on it. It is my responsibility, but I just want you to know, basically. And it goes the same the other way around, because we can't be held accountable for, like, we shouldn't be walking on eggs the whole day,
No.
but we have to tell people, like, hey, this goes well for me. This doesn't really bode well for me. So this is
Yeah.
my communication to you.
Can
And
we
indeed
work
also,
together? Yeah.
yeah, and then we can work on stuff together, which is so important. And the souls that work together, they grow together. It's just
Absolutely.
so important to do that.
Well, it's rewiring. It's neuroplasticity, learning and growing and loving together. Right.
Mm,
And I know we discussed this. When you start to doing the work, you become the black sheep. You already are the black sheep.
yeah.
But tell me your experience of the black sheep.
Oh my God. Well, my family sees me, and they already saw me like that when I was a kid, because I was always a little bit different. There has to be a cycle breaker in a family, especially if the family is rather big, and we have like a past of wars and of abuses and things. So there's a lot of intergenerational trauma in there, which is fine, but a cycle breaker has to be born at some point. And well, hello, there was me. And apparently I'm strong enough to hold up that task, which
I
I'm very
know.
you know the drill. Yes, and we will be fine in the end. And I'm very grateful that I get that task as well, because I'm like, okay, well, apparently someone's got to do it. But already during my childhood, I was already like filled with like questions and with little side quests for myself, and highly neurodivergent and very sensitive and very diligent on whatever I wanted and whatever I needed, as opposed to the rest of the family. So they kind of let things happen to them.
That's how it
And I was
is.
like, exactly. That's easy. That's great. Then I don't have to do anything with it. But I was like, okay, something just happened. And my squirrel brain just went, oh, this is great. Oh, now there's a mystery. I can solve the mystery. Oh my God, let's get deeper into it. So that already kind of made me like a bit of a black sheep. And now they kind of think that I'm just witchy and interesting. I call myself just witchy and interesting right now. They look at me and they listen to me and they're like, huh, Jen sure is different. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being different. And I'm fine with just being myself and taking care of the people that I love, and making sure that also for myself, my life gets better. Because, in my current relationship, 1 year past the date that my ex and we broke up, I now have a girlfriend, but, we're doing all the healing together. And
Beautiful.
I feel like being the black sheep isn't necessarily a bad thing. I felt out of place first. I was like, okay, I'm different. But on the other hand, there has to be a cycle breaker in a family. And then they get to see, oh, stuff can be different actually for our family. Stuff can be different for myself as a person. And that's kind of when they start doing lighter work as well. And then they pass on a more positive vibration to their children. And that's really what we want.
Absolutely.
So,
My
yeah, that
passion.
was a whole tangent, you guys. Oh my God.
It's good. So have you been criticized by your family for the work that you're doing, or been asked to not say too much?
Yeah. I'm the one who rips open the wounds and who's
How
like,
dare
oh,
you?
guys.
What's that saying? Don't air your dirty laundry. That's what one of our sayings in Australia. You don't need to air your dirty laundry out to everybody.
Exactly. So I get a lot of like, oh my God, Jen, just could you not? And I'm like, no. I see this
I
stone.
shut
It's
up
not
for too long.
uncovered.
Yeah.
Exactly. And some people hate it, and family members have blocked me because of it. And I'm like, well, you're missing out, because actually this is a lot of fun and I'm learning a big deal, and it's very freeing.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're destroying their reality. So what they know is normal, and you're taking that away from them. Nobody wants that. And as I teach, we all have these core needs, and one of the first core need is certainty, safety, and comfort. And you take that away from them, then you're putting them in the unknown, which is scary for a human because nobody wants to go there. They would rather sit in, as I say, the familiar hell than go to the unfamiliar heaven, because that familiar hell is what they know. So, okay, so uncle so-and-so did this, auntie so-and-so did, grandpa did this, whatever, right? But they just go, well, that's just who they are. No, that's not just who they are. You know what? That might be who they are, but I'm not tolerating that anymore. And this is where I love watching my daughter with her children. And because, you know, as children, and I know you're the age of my children, but our kids used to be forced to kiss hello to somebody or give someone a hug. I never forced my kids. I would encourage it. And I go, oh, you know, it's your uncle, your auntie, whatever. My daughter will say to the girls, say hello to so-and-so. And they say hello. And if they want a hug, they'll go and do it. If they don't, they never, ever, even when I come over sometimes, I go, does Nanny get a hug? No. Okay, no drama. Now, my mum, I love her to bits, but she would have been offended by that. What do you mean you can't give your grandmother, or Orma, we used to call her, Orma, a hug? And I go, well, they just don't want to. So she would go into the old cycle of being rejected and then put it on the kids. So then the kids would feel guilty, and that's how those cycles continue. So like you, I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that was the loud mouth. I was the one that used to fight everything. I was the one that would never take no for an answer because I knew something was wrong. At the same time, I was the people pleaser. I used to make sure my mum was okay all the time because of what was happening at the house. So I lost my childhood in that way. And I was always worried that something would happen to her whilst I went away, or went somewhere or to a friend. So I wouldn't go. So I would stay at home. And so I then became, you know, I know my elder sister did that and my middle one did a little bit. My elder sister and I were probably more in that like thought of, you know, we need to protect mum. But that robs you of your childhood, right? So I already knew back then that so much of my childhood was wrong, but I never, ever realised, like I said, until about two and a half, 3 years ago now, just how destructive it was and how it shaped me and moulded me into who I became as a partner, wife, mother, and things like that. So the black sheep, and I know that parts of my family don't like what I say, and especially in my podcast, but I wore a mask, Jen, for way too many years, and those masks are off.
And how does it feel for you to drop the mask and be able to work on that?
Great. Like, I won't lie, it was tough. I had been considering doing a podcast for about 2 years, but a year ago I just really wasn't I probably wasn't completely healed enough to expose myself in that way. So what I did was, after I did the plant medicine and I really started to work on the wounds that came up, still took a while, had bought all the equipment to do it, but just wasn't. And then one day I just woke up and I said, it's time. And you know what I ended up with? I ended up with thyroiditis, right? And I know, because the body keeps score, it was about my throat chakra finally releasing 5 decades of stuff, okay? So I just let it run its course. And I was very, very sick for a few months with that, but I knew where it came from. So I just worked through it. And after I, you know, did some more healing work and released some more stuff, I was good again.
That's good. And I want to go back to the black sheep part a little bit, because you were probably like a black sheep as a kid as well, but how did it make you feel in the past? Wow, I'm trying to get my words out.
Oh, I felt like I just belonged.
I'm like a little bit, I'm a bit emotional as well right now. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. This is just something beautiful that we just get to break open together. And I really hope that the person listening right now, this is just what they need to hear. And they're probably going, yeah, it's normal. You're going through this. A lot of cycle breakers are going through this. I know that there's a certain type of people listening to your and to my podcast, and we are here for a reason. And I don't know, sometimes it kind of like makes me emotional because I get to be very grateful for the work that you and I both were doing. And you know, when I look at your socials, when I look at your reels, when I also just, you know, went back to your podcast, I don't, it just, I'm like, my heart feels so full, but it really took us a long way to get here.
Oh, well, we had to go through what we went through to get to here today to help others. Because I'm sorry, but you can read out of a textbook and you can read out of study guides, but unless you've actually gone through some stuff and you've actually healed through and done the work, I think it's very hard to empathize with someone. And I know what rock bottom's like. I know what deeper than rock bottom's like. You know, I know what it's like to not want to be here anymore. So this is where I love where I'm at. Have I loved the journey? No. But am I grateful for it? 100%. It's shown me who's who in the zoo. It's shown me how much I abandoned myself. It showed me how little respect I had for myself. It showed me I was just a little girl all the time. I was a little girl. I was an adult in a little girl. Sorry, I was a little girl in an adult's body.
Yeah.
And I was working on survival constantly.
Exactly. And we still act from those childhood wounds every now and then. And
Absolutely.
this is also something this is something that I told my partner last week or 2 weeks ago. I asked her, like, hey babe, wouldn't it be a good idea to have a picture of each other, you know, in our wallets or something, just of the other person being a tiny human? Because when we act in a certain, I wouldn't say negative, but in a certain sensitive way, that's a better way to reframe it, there's this other person that's underneath it. And of course, sometimes I still act from that wound. I still
you're
have
the
my
age of that wound.
Exactly. So I had that last week. I had a huge trigger. She surprised me. It was super sweet. All of a sudden, she was at my place and, you know, she rang the doorbell. But back in the day, a ringing doorbell either meant an angry father or a stalking ex. So my brain, it just went nuts. And I took up the phone of the doorbell and I said, hello. And she said, hey. And I was like, oh, thank God it's you. But still, like for a full 20 minutes, I went into a spiral.
But your nervous system went into, I'm in danger.
Exactly.
And what's the first thing our nervous system does in our brain? It's scanning for danger.
Exactly.
Right. Sorry, yeah, keep going. Yep.
What I mean to say is that you're never fully healed. You're always working on yourself. And even though you're reframing the story continuously for yourself, it takes work for the rest of your life. And you got to be willing to put that work in.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you talk about the picture because I do that with my clients. I get my clients from day one. The first day they work with me is to find a photo of themselves as a 4 or 5-year-old. And I explain to them that when they're triggered and when they're fighting with someone, they're not fighting as adults, they're fighting as children. And I have this beautiful reel, and if I can find the picture, I'll send it to you. It is 2 metal frame statues, the size of 2 adults, right? And the 2 adults have got their backs to themselves, like backs against each other. And they're arguing, like there's conflict. But inside the metal frames, because they're see-through, the 2 little children reaching out to each other. And they're like, I just want to be seen. I just want to be heard. And this is what people don't understand. When you're fighting with someone, step back and say to yourself, wow, how old am I here? Because that's the age of the wound. Whatever comes up, and I say that, but the first answer is the right answer.
Yeah.
So you can be sitting there with a wound that happened at 4, 5, 8, whatever. In my case, that's 5 decades. And I've been fighting like that my whole life. And, you know, defensive is because I'm protecting myself. You know, people pleasing, procrastinating, workaholic. I never took a day off unless I was absolutely near death's door. Because that job was significant. It filled all my core needs. It filled my safety, certainty, and comfort. It filled my variety and change. It filled my significance. It filled my love and connection. Without that, who was I? Yeah. I was never anybody my whole life. So I was always trying to find who I was. But guess what? This whole journey took me back to who I actually am. And it's the first time I've been Tash. It's the first time I've actually liked who I am. I've never liked myself. I actually love myself for the first time ever. And I can honestly say that because I have boundaries. I haven't been with anyone for some time. I don't settle. I don't need someone in my life. Would I like to meet someone? Absolutely.
Yeah.
They got to bring something pretty damn good because my life's great. I have peace. I have contentment. I have stability. I have a beautiful family. And I don't have that need to fill that void constantly anymore. I was a relationship jumper because I could never be on my own.
Yeah.
And most people do that.
Yeah. No, that's very true. A lot of people do that. But now that you've come out at the other end, what are some strengths that came out of it? What were some realizations where you were like, oh my God, Tash, you're an awesome person. You rock.
Probably the biggest lessons was discernment, boundaries, self-love, self-worth. And I didn't have to prove myself to anyone. The only person I had to prove myself to was me. Like I was constantly looking for validation because I never had it. And when you fill those needs yourself, you're not putting the power in anyone else's hands. And yeah, look, if people come along and they don't stick around, you know you're going to be okay because you're okay on your own. The other thing too was stop sweating the small stuff. Like really stop sweating things that you can't, like look at what you can control. What about yourself? What was the things that you learned about yourself?
Yeah, that I'm actually a pretty awesome person and that my brain works in wondrous ways. I'm neurospicy and I just get to be that way. You know, I'm
I love that.
I guess
Neurospicy.
I'm just neurospicy, which makes me observe the world in a different way, and that's fine. And a lot of people always told me, oh, you're wrong for that because you're so up in your head, or you know, you have all these tics and blah blah blah. And I used to think that I was at fault for having them. I was, you know, a wrong paper off the wrong press, basically. And I'm like, no, actually, people need my brain as well, just like I need yours. We all need each other. We create this huge ecosystem. There's this ecosystem and we complete each other. And that, I think that was a realization that was gifted to me through the years.
Do you were you a people pleaser?
I was a huge people pleaser. Yes.
Do you find that that's not happening now?
I mean, I do feel like sometimes I act from the people pleasing wound from when I was a little kid, because just like you, I stayed at home for my mom a lot and all that stuff as well. So I really recognize that. But now a lot less. I mean, there's still.
Do you see yourself doing it and pull yourself up?
How do you mean?
Like if you know that you're about to do something that you really don't want to do, but you're doing it to keep someone else happy, will you pull yourself up?
Oh yeah, no, I do have like a bit of a helicopter view nowadays. Yeah, where you're like realizing
the observer.
Yes. You're like, wait, hold on, I'm doing something and this doesn't fit what my core needs are right now, what my core values are right now. Do you have the same?
100%. My values, and people get values mixed up. People think values are honesty, integrity, respect. They're standards, right? They're traits and standards. Values are what is a deal breaker for you. So for me, my values are health, growth, and family. So every day I do something to tick a box in those each of those areas, right? My growth is the most important. And then my family and health are on the same page, really. Because I recognize if I don't keep doing the work, I could easily default, right? We tend not to, because this becomes a way of life, but they are my values. So if I'm wanting to be healthy, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to sleep well, I'm going to drink water. Am I still going to have junk food? Of course I am, right? But if I'm on my values are health, I'm going to do the majority of my life on that path. My family, I speak to my family every day. Each one of my 3 children I speak to, be it text message or a phone call. They never go a day without a good morning or a good night, no matter what part of the world they're in, right?
Oh,
I never had that. Like my mum and dad were always good night, and in being German, we used to say good night, kiss them good night, and say schlaf good, which is sleep well. I remember that, right, because that was a nice thing. But I also remember when I didn't get it because we were in trouble. So even if I'm having an issue with one of my children or something's going on, I will still send the message, good night, I love you. Doesn't matter what's going on, because I never want them to have to perform for my love.
exactly.
Right? And so so family and health, yeah, they're my 3 values. So if someone else comes along, if they don't fit my values, that they're important to me.
Yeah.
Whereas before I used to give up what was important to me to keep someone in my life or to keep somebody else happy. I would shrink to be accepted and belonging, and that's one thing I'll never, ever, ever, ever do again.
Amen.
What's your values?
Yeah, we're deviating. I'm loving it. I think for me, it's definitely freedom, curiosity, and kindness. So I want to be free to do what I want to do. I love to see the world. I love to meet people. I love all that. I've loved that since my early 20s, since I think my late teens, because I broke free of the shackles of my parents' house, and I lived with my aunt and uncle when I was a minor. And they were a pre-catalyst for me and becoming the person that I am right now. So very grateful for them as well. So I started traveling by myself, and the first airplane I ever took was to South Korea. And
Wow.
yeah, I was like, you know what? This is the first airplane I'm taking like ever. Let's go to the other side of the world.
That is totally.
Oh my God. So definitely my freedom. I have to see things. I have to meet people. I have to, because otherwise I wouldn't get all this knowledge that I have right now. And I keep saying the more I know, the less I know. I feel like I'm getting smarter, but also stupider every day. It's amazing. I love this arc of my life. I think it's by far my favorite so far.
It's interesting. Sorry, no, Kiko. Sorry.
No, I'm curious. What did you want to say?
I was going to say it's interesting that you said you let go of the shackles or release the shackles. That's why I called my program and my podcast Unshackled.
Yeah, I know.
Because it is about getting rid of those shackles, getting rid of those ties that you have to all these stories, beliefs, patterns, programming, conditioning, all of these dysfunction and generational stuff that we do not, like, they don't serve us. They do not serve us. So I love that you put that in there.
Little sting for you. Because now my listeners also know where to find you, which is amazing. I love that. And also, now I've actually found a partner, like after being single for quite a while and after taking some time for myself, who wants to share that freedom with me. And at first she was like, was honestly a little bit scared. She was like, oh my God, how are we going to do that? And I was like, girl, this is what I want to do for work. And this is who I am. And I don't want to be away from home the whole time without you. So actually, I want to bring you places. I mean, there might be a conference or an event where I'll have to speak for an evening, just like last Friday, but I will also, we can do all this amazing stuff together. And within that, I can implement all the kindness and curiosity. I got to be kind and curious with all these people and learn a bunch of stuff that I might or might not like, which, if you're not kind and curious.
Well, we're here to serve. We're here to serve. We're part of the collective to serve and help people wake up and break these cycles. And, I couldn't be happier. I know that I sound like a broken record at times, but this is my passion. And this is if I help one person, I'm happy, but I know I'm helping hundreds of people. But when I get these beautiful messages saying, oh my God, I've changed my whole life. I've got a beautiful client from a few years ago who left a very horrible narcissistic relationship and they had children and she took her children out of it. And I look at that as she's the cycle breaker. And was it tough for her? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? She's so happy, and she recognizes what she's done for her children.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
that's
that.
good.
I just love seeing that and knowing that.
Yeah.
So, and what you were just saying about you and your partner, intimate relationships are the foundation where you grow the most. When you're on the same page, when you're on the same learning journey or growing journey, that is the most beautiful way to heal, because it's relational healing, right? But if you go into another narcissistic or toxic relationship, just get out. Just, it's not going to work. If they're not prepared or not aware, and they're not prepared to do the work, I say this, and people don't like it, and pardon my French, but they get the shits, because I say, if that person, be it a guy or a girl, doesn't matter who it is, if you've made them aware and they're still not prepared to do the work or change the things that are upsetting you, then walk away, because it's not going to get any better. People don't like to hear that, but it is the absolute truth.
Yep.
That's
Definitely.
my soapbox.
No, but you're totally right. If they're not willing and not prepared to either start doing the work, or they're not doing, or they're in it yet, it's really hard if you're already on a healing journey to have a certain relationship with someone. And that doesn't only go for partners, it also goes for friends, right? Because I don't know about you, but I've had to let go of friends.
Well, I think, do you know what? We actually don't let them go. The universe moves them, because we've evolved, and it's all about vibration and energy. And so when you become a vibration that's too high for them, they can't be in your space, because you no longer serve that energy that they're in. You no longer are compatible. So it starts to get bigger and bigger, right? And it's not a personal thing. It's not a arrogance thing. It's just how it works. When you evolve and grow, people fall away. And that's, if they want to come, great. If they don't, there's nothing you can do about it. And I would refuse to go back down to a level that I lived in for so long. I'm like, I'm here. And here's the other thing. When you are growing and evolving and sitting at a higher vibration, you attract people at that level, which is why you've attracted yourself a nice, by the sounds of it, safe partner.
Yeah. And which is why she also attracted me, because we were working on ourselves.
Attracted, yeah, it's law of attraction, and it's true. But I guess if someone was listening today and realized, after hearing both of us talk, that they're either in a narcissistic relationship, friendship, workplace, what would you advise?
If you're realizing it, I think go isolate yourself for 10, 20 minutes. Take a breath. Tell yourself your observation. Say, hey, I just realized ABC. Or I just realized I'm in a narcissistic relationship, or my boss is an asshole, or my parents are cuckoo. I just realized that. This is just an observation, a statement that I'm making. What does this do to me? What childhood wounds are being ripped open? What little traumas am I carrying with me? And what do I need? Not what do I want, what do I need? And from that part, just start blueprinting your way out. Start with 0, because a lot of people want to start at 100. They want to be healed and they already want to be at a certain place, but start taking a first step. I think thinking about your first step, maybe your first 3 steps, is what makes it, you can oversee it a little bit. Otherwise, you have no helicopter view. It's gonna be too messy. I think that's something I would want to tell that person. And what about you?
Probably I would tell them, if they recognize after hearing a lot of what we said today that they're possibly in a relationship like that, it would be to reach out to one of us and have a chat to us, because I don't know if that's what you offer, but I certainly do. I believe that people can help them understand it, rather than making a decision on, half facts, or is that what I'm feeling? Because then here's the other thing. I would never say to the person, I think you're a narcissist, because that's not going to sit well, right? And then what happens, as you and I both know, it gets turned back on us.
Yes.
And then they start accusing you of the things that they're actually doing to make you feel like you're the crazy one, right?
Yeah.
So I never confront the person. It's quite interesting because when they're confronted, they vamp up. Okay, we know that. So I guess I would find comfort in possibly having someone to talk to so that you can maybe make a plan. The other thing I would do is start to document things, like start to write what's going on, like what's actually happening here and what am I allowing? Because here's the other thing. What we tolerate is we show people how to treat us. So what am I tolerating? Okay, what am I actually accepting here? And if my friend was doing that, what would I tell them? See, because a lot of people go, oh, I'm great at giving advice, but taking it myself, right? People will sit and go, why are you putting up with that? But then you go, well, why are you putting up with that? Right? So it's a matter of radical honesty. What's going right in this relationship and what's not? Where is the potential? Where am I falling in love with potential? To actually, this is my stuff. I could be sabotaging here, right? But you have to understand your blueprint. Without understanding your blueprint, you're not going to understand why you do the things you do because it's a familiar pattern and it's all they know, right? But after hearing both of us talk today, I would hope that people go, wow, okay, where does that show up in my life? Where could I be doing that? Or what is that person doing that isn't sitting well, but I'm putting up with it, right? Yep. Just to settle. It's a tough one, especially when it comes to a relationship and family, because friends, yeah, it's still tough with a friend, but a friend you haven't got that living with them or having to see them all the time. But a relationship and family can be challenging. So I would encourage people to get support.
Oh.
And to be radically honest with themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a tough part sometimes, right?
100%. 100%. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, Tash, I want to thank you for everything from today. Holy crap, this was amazing. I loved it.
I know. We said we were just going to let it go, and we did. Thank you for sharing my community and my followers and my, world, because everyone has a story and it's what we do with them, right? And I know we're both busy, but I think it's so important to educate people.
Yeah.
So important.
Most definitely.
Yeah, because without education, they don't know any different.
Exactly. Yeah. And we can help each other out with that. So if you ever have a story to be told, feel free to reach out to Tash and myself, and we will be right there for you. Right?
Absolutely. And I don't know what your community offers or what you offer, but if anyone's interested in the blueprint, I do a blueprint program. So it's something that I can share with your guys if they're interested, or they can find me. And same with my guys. If they want to, connect with you, I'll put your links in my description. And yeah, I think the more people that we reach out to, the better.
Exactly. It's very important to start healing together, because only then will we make this a place that feels more like home.
And I do believe that that's what's happening in the world at the moment. The more people that are becoming aware and waking up, the better it's going to be. So thank you for your time and getting up so early.
Well, thank you for having me and myself for having you. I mean, this was amazing. Thank you.
It was a great tag team.
Exactly. We always know more together, because now I get to implement stuff that you said. So thank you 100 times. Thank you.
Like I said, I've got 3 decades on you nearly, so I had a little bit more learning to do. I had a little bit more damage.
Well, thanks again, Tash. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Well, again, another great conversation. Thank you so much, Genevieve, for joining my community, being a part of my podcast, sharing your story. And, for anybody that, has found anything in the conversation that both Genevieve and I had,
please feel free to reach out to either one of us, because we both come with very similar stories, but obviously very different journeys to how we got to where we did and what we do to help ourselves on this journey and process. Again, thank you to everybody that's new to my community, everybody that's just recently picked up following my podcast. For anybody that's been reaching out and interested in my online program, the Unshackled Blueprint program, you can find that on tashrogers.com on my Instagram, or you can reach out to me. Again, anybody that has any questions or wants to reach out, please do. Obviously, I do my one-on-one coaching. I've got my podcast, I've got my programs, and I will be putting out some other information soon for everybody. But again, have a wonderful week, and please follow, subscribe, share, spread the word, because the more people that understand this, the better the world will be. Have a great week.